Welcome students to this lecture. Today our topic is National Literacy Mission. In this lecture we will discuss understanding the shortcomings and weaknesses of adult education program in India, understanding the phenomenon which led to launching of National Literacy Mission, knowing the outcomes of the National Literacy Mission. Now, we come to the summary of this whole lecture. National Literacy Mission was conceptualized and built on objective assessment of the strengths and weaknesses of the earlier program of adult education. The mission focuses on harvesting social forces and channelizing human resources for an ultimate qualitative change in people's life. Mission lays emphasis on urgency, clear time frame, fixed goals and age-specific target groups. Mission envisages creation of an effective mission management system to ensure achievement of the mission objectives within broad framework of flexibility, delegation, decentralization and accountability. Emphasis is laid on institutionalization of post-literacy and continuing education. The mission emphasizes not on mere enrollment of learners, but also attainment of predetermined norms and parameters of literacy, numeracy, functionality and awareness. In order to achieve full literacy in a vast multicultural and multilinguistic country like India, need to constant coordinated and committed efforts were felt, and subsequently the campaign approach was envisaged as a dominant strategy. The mission aimed at not only making non-literates well versed with 3 Rs, but also making them use the literacy skills in day-to-day life. Now we come to the National Literacy Mission objectives. The mission seeks to impart functional literacy to non-literate persons in 1535 age group in a specific time frame. In qualitative terms, functional literacy implies self-reliance in 3 Rs, participation in the process of development, skill improvement to improve economic status and general well-being, imbibing national values like national integration, environment conservation, women's equality and small family norms. Mission seeks to achieve these objectives through creating conducive environment for teaching learning process, provision of relevant teaching learning materials, improving pace and content of learning, integrating basic literacy with post-literacy and continuing education, training of functionaries at all levels. And now we have a particular approach for implementation of this mission. National Literacy Mission stresses on adoption of campaign approach to achieve its objectives by means of total literacy campaign, post-literacy program, continuing education program. Now, post-independence India inherited a system of education which was characterized by inter- and intra-regional balances. Literacy rate of the country in 1947 was only 14%, and the female literacy was abysmally low at 8%. Only 1 child out of 3 had an opportunity for enrollment in primary schools. This poor educational scenario led to economic and gender disparity, and rigid social stratifications. Thus, eradication of illiteracy became one of the major concerns for the government of India after independence. Need for literate population and universal education for all children in the age group 6 to 14 years was recognized as a crucial input for national building and was given due consideration in the Constitution as well as in the successive 5-year plans. Number of programs were taken up to eradicate illiteracy among adults. Some of the important programs were social education. The main elements of this social education were literacy, extension, general education, leadership, training, and social consciousness. The program was implemented in first 5-year plan 1951-1956. Gram Shiksha. Launched in 1959 in some of the districts of Maharashtra with an aim to impart basic literacy within 4 months. Program could not do well due to lack of systematic follow-up. Farmers' Functional Literacy Project. It started in 1967 and 68 with the objective to popularize high-yielding varieties of seeds through the process of adult education. Non-formal education. In the beginning of the 5th 5-year plan, a program of non-formal education for 15-25 age group was launched. The program was a shift strategy from the conventional literacy programs, polyvalent adult education centers. Adoption of polyvalent adult education centers in urban areas were launched in 1977 for workers' class population. Appointment of Education Commission 1964-66. It was a significant event in the history of education in India. Among several measures, it recommended that high priority be accorded to the eradication of illiteracy and urged for promotion of adult education program through involvement of teachers, students, and media. The first nationwide attempt at eradication of illiteracy was made through National Adult Education Program, launched on October 2, 1978. It was a massive program which aimed at educating 100 million non-literate adults in the age group of 15-35 years within time frame of 5 years. Rural Functional Literacy Project. This was a major centrally sponsored scheme launched in 1978 for rural areas. Then State Adult Education Program. The states, different states of the country also took up center-based projects under state plan funds on the same lines of RFLP or Rural Functional Literacy Program. Now we will come to the review of the National Adult Education Program. The National Adult Education Program and the progress thereof up to March 1988 was reviewed and evaluated. An evaluation report suggested that the level of achievement of this program in relation to the target of 100 million was only about 20%. Kothari Commission was appointed by the Government of India to assess the strengths and weaknesses of this NAEP or National Adult Education Program. These tables and graphic representations are indicative of the achievements of the National Adult Education Program and its allied projects. Population of the country has been increasing at the exponential growth rate. The number of illiterates increased from about 300 million in 1951 to about 328 million in 1991. Although since independence in 1947, there has been phenomenal increase in number of educational institutions, teachers, faculties and students. The decennial census 1991 saw India cross the 50% mark, achieving 52.21% literacy rate. The census 2011 shows a very encouraging trend in literacy gains and literacy figures. Gender disparity in literacy is historical phenomenon. In 1901, literacy rate for males was 9.83%, while it was only 0.60% in case of females. National Policy of Education 1986 has given unqualified priority to two programs for eradication of illiteracy, particularly among women: universalization of elementary education and universal retention of children up to 14 years of age. National Literacy Mission aiming at making non-literate persons in 1535 age group literate. Now, National Literacy Mission was set up by the Government of India in recognition of the need for priority attention to literacy, for speeding up the development process, and was launched by the Prime Minister of India on 5th May 1988. The objective of the National Literacy Mission in quantitative terms was, to start with, to impart functional literacy to 80 million adult illiterate persons in the age group 15-35 years, 30 million by 1990 and additional 50 million by 1995. This target was revised to making 100 million persons literate during the 8th five-year plan, that is between 1992 and 1997. The NLM, National Literacy Mission, adopted a campaign approach with an emphasis on mobilization of social forces and securing people's participation. The mission was conceived as a societal mission, implying political will at all levels for the achievement of the mission goals in a time-bound manner. The launching of mission led to a review of all the ongoing programs of adult education at that time. The earlier program was evaluated and the shortcomings and weaknesses were pointed out. The evaluation study revealed that the literacy scenario in India, in spite of substantial expansion of infrastructural facilities and spread of primary and upper primary institutions, the goal of providing basic education to all could not be achieved, and the absolute number of the illiterates increased manifold. National Literacy Mission was built on an objective assessment of the strengths and weaknesses of the program, as discussed in the brief history of adult education, emanating from the evaluation of the study reports. The creation of Mission for Literacy represents national commitment on the need to harness human resources towards overall development. The National Adult Education Program followed center-based approach under rural functional literacy projects. Under center-based approach, the Rural Functional Literacy Program consisted of 100 to 300 adult education centers in a district. Each center was to cater to 30 learners and was run by one paid instructor with a meager amount remuneration of rupees 100 per month. National Literacy Mission was launched in 1988, but up to 1990, the mission continued with center-based approach with very poor progress. Thus, the goals of National Literacy Mission were not translated into action. However, only some changes were made during this period. National Literacy Mission between 1988 to 1990 tried to consolidate the earlier center-based program to make its implementation more effective. The scheme of Rural Functional Literacy Project was recognized, which mainly consisted of streamlining various activities and correcting managerial deficiencies. Revised guidelines were introduced for carrying out. Number 1, detailed survey of villages or mohallas. Number 2, preparation of plan for phased eradication of illiteracy in the project area. Number 3, identification of dedicated instructors. Number 4, constitution of project advisory committees with project functionaries, local community representatives, representatives of people organizations as its members, and introducing proper monitoring, supervision and evaluation. Project advisory committees were supposed to advise the project officials regarding location, organization and management of adult education centers, bringing the need of the local community to the notice of the project officials, ensuring coordination with different developmental departments, and reviewing and evaluating the progress of the project. In spite of such extensive guidelines, the deficiencies could not be remedied in the implementation process. Now, the need to shift from this strategy was felt. And on the basis of reasons mentioned so far, the National Literacy Mission felt a need to make an absolute shift in implementation strategy in the adult education program. Campaign approach. One notable exception to the center-based approach and an experiment with the campaign mode was first seen in Kottayam city in Kerala, where the district collector, by mobilizing 200 volunteers from Mahatma Gandhi University and forging links with 2,000 non-literates in 6 to 60 years age group in the city, succeeded in making them fully literate within 3 months, April to June. It was in 1989. But the breakthrough came with an experiment in mass literacy campaign initiated in 1989 and successfully completed in 1990 in Ernakulam district of Kerala. This was not a government-sponsored program, but under the leadership provided by the District Literacy Society, with few persons from district administration, but also people from different sections and backgrounds as its members. The campaign in Ernakulam district in Kerala saw a fusion between district administration with district collector as its head, voluntary groups, social activists and others. Ernakulam became first fully literate district of the country in 1990. The Kerala state took up the model for whole state covering 18 lakh persons in the age group 6 to 60 years within a span of 1 year. The experiment represented a well-laid synergy of governmental and community outfits in which both tended to transfer and share initiative and responsibility. Total literacy campaign was followed in other states of the country also. the experience gained from Ernakulam and other total literacy campaign districts prompted National Literacy Mission to set up and formulate guidelines for the country to adopt for eradication of illiteracy. So far, total literacy campaign projects have been launched in 448 districts out of total 550 districts in the country. Total literacy campaigns have shown that there is considerable enthusiasm to learn, and opposed to the traditional view that learners are disinterested or inhibited has proved to be a myth. National Literacy Mission efforts through Total Literacy campaign have resulted in a positive change in attitude to upgrade their skills and adopt it for individual development and eventually for social action. Therefore, in order to sustain and retain the zeal for learning, National Literacy Mission has designed post-literacy and continuing education programs. Considering the successes of campaign approach, the National Literacy Mission changed the management strategy and came up with an entirely different management structure at national, state and district levels. Now we come to the literacy curriculum. Considering the shortcomings of the earlier long duration system of literacy syllabus and the boring content of learning, the National Literacy Mission defined the desired levels of competencies in the 3 R's so as to improve the content and also the pace of learning. In reading aloud with normal accent and at a speed of 30 words a minute, a simple passage on a topic of learner interest. Silent reading at 35 words a minute of small paragraphs in simple language. Reading with understanding the road signs, posters, simple instructions and newspaper headings. Ability to follow simple written passage relating to one's working and living environment. Now in writing, copying with a speed of 7 words a minute, taking dictation at 5 words a minute, writing with proper spacing and alignment, writing short letters and applications and filling in forms of day-to-day use. And in numeracy, reading and writing numerals from 1 to 100, doing simple calculations involving addition, subtraction, multiplication and division without fraction. Working knowledge of units of measurement, distance, currency, time and area. Broad idea of proportion and interest. National Literacy Mission issued instructions to the states and district level managements for making the literacy local specific and as simple as to retain the interest of the learners. Emphasis on post-literacy and continuing education. The National Literacy Mission is laying stress on consolidation of literacy skills acquired during literacy campaigns in the post-literacy and continuing education phase in the districts which complete the basic literacy phase. Strategies for different age groups have been formulated under post-literacy and continuing education programs so as to ensure a sustainable development, particularly among the weaker sections of the society. Post-literacy and continuing education. Principal features of post-literacy and continuing education have been emphasized as mopping up more who could not either be enrolled in the literacy phase or had to drop out midway through the basic literacy phase. Remediation of those learners who could not attain the National Literacy Mission norms in full. Continuation of learning and upgradation of literacy skills. Application of literacy skills in the living and working situation of the learners. This also implies awareness of public policy which could lead to a qualitative improvement in working and living conditions. The post-literacy and continuing education covers age groups 9-14 years and also 15 plus age. Strategy for post-literacy and 9-14 years age provides for these children joining non-formal education course. Non-formal education course for second, third and fourth semesters, as the content of semester 1 would have already been covered in total literacy phase. Strategy for 15 plus and adult age group aims at providing for basic skills, life skills, communication skills and vocational skills. Post-literacy and continuing education is an evolving strategy for lifelong learning based on specific needs and requirements of the learners. Then there is one more component of the total literacy campaign or National Literacy Mission objectives, that is equivalency. In order to clearly specify the expected levels of learning outcomes at the end of the total literacy campaign phase, it is necessary to establish an equivalency level. The government and other agencies are to establish such equivalency and provide for conducting of examination to enable the new literates to enter formal system of education. Now we come to the institutional support to the National Literacy Mission. An initiative to broad base and complement the institutional support to the Literacy Mission by Directorate of Adult Education, state source centers and state education departments has been taken by National Literacy Mission so as to strengthen the teaching learning process and creating more demand for the same. The whole exercise has resulted in raising the literacy percentage up to more than 65% in all the states of the country, including union territories also. To conclude, National Literacy Mission is a holistic mission for eradication of illiteracy and bringing all to the level of equivalency with formal system of education. I hope you must have understood. Thank you very much.